Okay. So you can kind of come back into the space together. And I'm gonna jump right in. I want to start with a experience that I had with virtual reality. So for those of you, I don't know if it has another name, but it was a Hanukkah kind of activity in the community where you put on these goggles, the virtual reality station that I did. I put on these goggles and it looks like I'm outside of it. I'm in the hallway of a building. And I turn around and there's a elevator. And I walk into the elevator and I turn back around and I see that I'm going up. I can see between the slats of the elevator that I'm going up, 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 up. And I get to the top and I'm at the top of like the rooftop of a very tall building. That's what I see. And when I turn my head and I look around, I see birds flying. I'm up at the level of birds. I see mountains and water, the ocean. And there's a wooden plank in front of me. And I'm meant to walk on this wooden plank and then jump off. So I'm standing there and I know my feet are on the ground. I know I have goggles on. I know my feet are on the ground. They're even on a mat, like a cushy mat. And I can't step on the plank. And I had my husband was standing there. I think he went before me. He didn't go. He said, if I had to, I would have, but he just said, I'm not doing it. And quite a few other people just couldn't override. It's kind of mind blowing. So I had this instinct. So I said, Chaim, come here. And I grabbed his arm and I could walk the plank. And then it was time to jump. And I pulled him a little closer and then I could jump. And so I'm bringing this story because for a few reasons. One, our nervous system is geared to protect us. And I'm gonna, the class today is about shame. Sarah Yehudit's new book, Sarah Yehudit Schneider, which the Moonlit Circle classes take. The classes that I teach are based on one of her teachings, combined with neuroscience and somatic therapeutic practices. We'll be doing at the end of the class, we'll be doing a stretching piece, meditative floor, movement piece, meditation, and some journaling, prayer, creation. And so starting with this Torah of Sarah Yehudit, shame is her new book is called Dark Matters of the Soul, the Kabbalah of Shame. And there's a way, you know what, I'm going to bring up the slideshow. I'm going to share the screen and bring the slideshow. Let's see. Okay. So you know what? Actually, I'm gonna insert a little this other piece, just because we're gonna be speaking about shame, a lot about shame. We're gonna learn the story very briefly, as many of you are familiar with the story of Ploni, Kamsa, and Bar Kamsa, all based on shame, that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because of shame, that it causes baseless hatred. Sarah Yehudit says it's the basis of all evil and suffering starts with this thing called shame. And on the other end of the spectrum of shame is accessing Ruach HaKodesh. And I heard a beautiful Pesach Torah that the Geula of Yetziat Mitzrayim was the collective Geula, that we were slaves. and that we learned how to serve Hashem there. And the Geula that's coming is the one where each and every one of us has a direct connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Rav Tzadok Cohen says that even the ignoramuses among us, the most simple person, every most simple person has the ability to know the most spiritually productive choice, action in every moment. That there's a way that we can be aligned with Hashem's will, that our will, that we can listen in. And this is one of the reasons, as a somatic therapist, it's called the breath of the bones, Ruach HaKodesh. And I'm aware I'm diverging, because really this class is about shame. But just to say that this is the building block, this piece of getting to know our shame, healing from it, turning it into prayer, which we're gonna unfold all of this. It's on the other. We get through these pieces, and on the other end is this way where each one of us walks in our truth. We're shining our soul's light. So the two modes of Avodat Hashem, I wrote up at the bottom. There's a way that. Wait, I'm going to take a pause when I do this, because I'm a little verging off track, and I wanna keep in line. So just a moment. Okay, I'm going to bring that. We'll see if I'll bring it later. So, dark matters of the soul, the Kabbalah of shame. Our entire visible world is embedded in a vast matrix of invisible, i.e. dark stuff that comprises, I don't see my whole screen, no less than 95% of the total mass energy of the universe. What this means is that the vast majority of the universe we're not aware of. And the shame is in the same way. We're not aware of it. How it's fueling our decisions, it's fueling our actions when we're in critical judging others, blaming, angry, and any kind of pain is usually the result of, or any kind of way of being that doesn't feel in line with my integrity and my soul's truth, is some piece of shame has been triggered. And so in Kabbalah, as above, so below, and this is from Sarah Yehudit's, these are from Sarah Yehudit's teachings. The ego disintegrates in the face of shame and retaliates by banning it from awareness. The Maharal, and yet we're not even aware of it, and yet the Maharal calls it the most powerful motivating force in the psyche. Carl Jung reflects this. Until you make the unconscious conscious, this dark stuff, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. It's influencing. The same with the astrophysics that's brought earlier, that 95% of the total mass energy of the universe is this dark matter. So when it influences gravity, it influences the world, and we're not aware of it. And there's a saying, the only way out is in. So the only way to kind of be released, to find healing, to get a break from our constricted places, our dark places, a part of me that knows how, even that knows how to hate, a part of me that knows how to judge, a part of me that doesn't have space for another. The only way to bring healing to those, I won't say the only way, but a way to bring healing to those places, as long as we don't meet them and bring them to the conscious, they don't wait. This is also from Jung. They don't wait passively to be redeemed. They will, as we all know, the pressure builds up and they will come out. We won't have conscious choice to when to express our anger, when to breathe and be silent. Our unconscious, and it's part of our nervous system as well. Just a moment. I should say, I'll just bring all of myself here this evening. I have some different health challenges, and one of the ways,
go get it.
One of the ways that it shows itself is sometimes my brain, I kind of slow down, like my thought process and my words. So just before the class, I was speaking to my husband and I wanted to ask him to do something. We have thank God we have a greenhouse. There's some plants in there. I wanted to ask him, I said, can you put them in the White House? And then a few minutes later, I said, and can you put that thing in the chair, which I meant the car. So my brain, I just want to bring that part of me here. So bear with me as I'm a little slower and I'm the connections. Please God, they'll come together. Okay, so I'll bring this piece. I'm looking at the time. I'll quickly bring this piece. Just in Gestalt therapy, there's different layers of self. There's the life layer, if you would see it as like a circle, and around that is what's called death layer. My mentor adds spirit layer in the middle, my somatic Soma Soul mentor. Spirit layer, life layer, death layer, impasse, and role layer. And so I'm not going to touch on every one. What I want to bring here is the connection between death layer and impasse. Death layer is all of the kind of the wounds. So it's an energy of rejection, of judgment, of blaming, hate, resentment, vengeance. Death layer is all of the judging, criticizing, bullying. These are all energies of death layer. And impasse, and what's happening there is those energies arise in us. As I notice my thoughts, I'm criticizing, why'd my husband, even just like this simple, why'd he cut the watermelon like that? I feel like that doesn't even matter. But when I turn towards judgment, there's something inside of me that's been touched, that's about, I don't know, like about, it needs to be a certain way so that things don't get wasted. To be for maybe it's my need to control, and that I have a strong value that food doesn't get wasted. So if you cut it this way, too much of the watermelon's going to get exposed, and then you'll have to cut it off later. Whatever's being, as I turn towards critical thinking, judging, or maybe blaming an other for whatever's happening, it usually means that something's been touched in me. And that's the impasse piece. I move away from feeling the pain that I'm not in control. That's the ego. The ego, and stay with me. The ego, the same way that the physical survival is. I was standing on that plank and my nervous system is saying, don't move your foot off of that plank. It is dangerous. That my eyes, my senses, there's something called neuroception. Every microsecond, our senses are scanning for safety and danger. And that's our physical surroundings, and that's our relational surroundings. So it could be I'm looking at the person even I'm talking to, and every microsecond I'm noticing, are they with me? Are they bored? Are they judging? It's unconsciously, I'm in this scanning for cues of safety and danger. And the moment that I come into a cue of danger, and for those of us that have an experience in childhood or different traumas, the sense of danger can be all high alert, can be on high alert. And it becomes very hard to land and trust and come into a place of safety. As long as I'm in high alert, I can't be in connection, in presence and in real connection. It's a different part of the nervous system. It's different. If this one's activated, it's hard to access the other one. So in the same way that the physical danger, and the way that my brain knows if I see myself on top of a high building, don't jump, the same way that my brain remembers if you're in front of somebody and I don't know what, it's a man or they're a little nervous or maybe angry, don't trust for a connection. The brain says, even though maybe this person in front of me, I can trust. I can land, I can be safe with. And but because my nervous system, because my what's called implicit memory is telling me no, is shooting off an unconscious signal. Instead, I might start judging them. I might start pushing them away and blaming them. And I'll think it's that there's something, it's because they're not perfect. It's because this and this and this. But it's actually something in me, an old belief, an old wiring in my nervous system. And that's the ego is in the same way it's here to protect against resentment, rejection, the need to belong. If there's a chance that if I'm not good enough, I might not impress this person enough. So it will shut down. It will shut us down. And so we want to be able to move through that, to have enough presence. We want a healthy ego that has enough presence and enough sense of self that can and that knows that that Hashem is here, that knows that this other person has their own experience, that they, maybe they had a hard day. Maybe this isn't about me, that knows about an other. There's a way, that has an other. So, just give me a moment. Okay. So let's move on to the next, to the shame, and I might just skip. I'll quickly. The place of relationship is just another huge piece, because I'll let you read this. I'll take a moment of silence, and you can read from Hashem before creation by definition. So just take a moment to read that. And I guess if you're in your car or whatever it is, I'll read it. I'll read it as well. Hashem before creation, by definition, was lacking nothing except, in some mysterious sense, the experience of actualized relationship, because there was no other with whom to relate. So Hashem created creation, i.e. us, to be this other and to enter into all the myriad possibilities of relationship, some of which have already happened, and some of which, the more consummate levels of which, have yet to be realized. So again, here's the place of the healthy ego. And this is why it's so important when we're talking about the ego. It's not that we want to nullify it. In Torah language, there's also a lot of bitul, and I think maybe even for men, it is more maybe of a challenge in a place. But as women, and I think just in our generation in general, we need a healthy ego to be this other to relate to. Because if we don't, we just get swept up into the other person. Am I okay? Am I going to be rejected? Are they angry at me? Or my kids, their emotions, I just become wrapped up with them. And so this way of sense of self, an ego, a healthy sense of self. And shame, it happens in relationship. It's not Adam v'Chava lo yitbosheshu. They were not ashamed. They weren't dressed. They weren't ashamed. And all was one at that time. It says that I think the Zohar says that all of the universe, all of nature, the whole world, from one end of the world to the other, was all a part of Adam and Chava. It was just a knowing of oneness, of Hashem, no separation. And the moment that they ate from the eights of Dat, there was a shvira, and they saw an other. And then shame came into the picture. Now that there's someone in someone else's eyes, I could risk, again, the danger, just like needing clothing and shelter and food. We need belonging. We're social beings. The relationship, my husband was just telling me on a walk the other day, he saw a TED Talk. Research shows that the top 2 indicators for long life has to do with relationships. People, it's not surprising to me. People that are, and it could be, I think the first one was even just greeting the mailman at the door, having some kind of interactions. And there again, I could jump off that. I could feel safe enough and override my unconscious, telling me not to jump that virtual reality, take that jump. When I had my husband close to me, I could do it. I could do anything. I could fly. And something that Chana Vered in the class on the activating the spiritual potential of Av, she spoke about that Av is the month of listening. And there's a way that to really listen to an other, to really, you have to kind of get out of the way, not be already forming, what am I going to say in response? And, I had a similar experience, I'm going to tell them about that, or, let me fix them. That there's a way that we need to, and there's a beautiful Tisha B'Av Torah that just the Kitzur of Sarah Yehudit, that she says that it could be that we actually have enough mitzvot to merit Mashiach coming. Like we've done enough, we've brought down enough light, but because we're not, there's so much polarization. It's as if there's our vessel of Am Yisrael, because I would say even in our homes, we should only know Shalom Bayit on the deepest level. In political parties, in different religious ways of relating to Torah, that because they're the unity to receive those lights, we're not, Mashiach isn't here. And that's, we're going to get to now the teaching that has to do with Tisha B'Av and shame. So every step of the plot that led to the destruction of the second temple, and please God will put in the chat, it was on the email, the source for this Torah teaching, is driven by unprocessed shame. The Talmud is telling us that unless we get a handle on the way this mysterious force called shame circulates through the psyche, we will not be able to rid ourselves of sinat chinam, no matter how many resolutions we make. So the Kitzur of the Kitzur, for those of you that aren't familiar, and just rerun, for those of you that are, the Ploni, that's like John Doe of the Torah. Ploni was throwing a party for all the dignitaries, the big rabbanim, and he tells his servant he forgot to invite Kamsa. And his servant goes, and he actually invites Bar Kamsa. Now, Bar Kamsa and Ploni are in a fight. They had some disagreement, and Bar Kamsa says, Ploni must have forgiven me. It's strange, but he's invited me to the party. How wonderful. Now, Bar Kamsa gets to the party, and Ploni sees him there and says, what are you doing here? I didn't invite you. And Bar Kamsa, I don't know, he figures it out. He says, please don't shame me. I'll pay for my food. and excuse me, because I don't know if I'll get all the details. But he says, please don't share, I'll pay for my food. And then he says, maybe he says, I'll pay for the party. I don't remember. But the point but because of Plony, who was running the party, his shame about the conflict that they're in, he puts his shame on Bar Kamsa, and Bar Kamsa leaves the party, totally disgraced. And he's outside, and he's in some way not even as angry with Plony. He's more angry. There were all these big rabbanim there, and nobody stood up and said, "Hey, Plony, chill out. You can't, shaming someone in public. It's not. You can't do that. Chill out. Let him be here. It's fine. Whatever it was." So. And they are shamed, the rabbanim, that if they said something to Plony, he was very important, and he might, they could lose their status. So what does Bar Kamsa do? He's full of shame, and he goes and puts his shame on the Roman emperor and says, you know what? Even at his own downfall, the Jews don't accept your korban. And the Roman emperor says, what? So I'm going to try this out. So he sends a korban, and on the way, so I'm going to speed up. On the way, Bar Kamsa makes it unfit to give as an offering. The korban is the offering, as a ritual offering. And so it comes to the head rabbis, and it's not kosher to bring on and most of them said, we need to take it because the Roman emperor, all hell's gonna break loose if we don't take it. And I think Chloris, I'm not remembering the name, but one Rav, his own shame of how could I go against the highest Torah, what it is. And he says, no, we can't take it. And he goes down in history as being because of his sticking to the strict letter of the law and not taking into account other people's, the Netziv brings in relationship to this. Like there were so many tzaddikim and chachamim of that time, but they didn't have yoshrut. They didn't make space for other people's way of doing things or for exceptions. That's where Ruach HaKodesh comes in also. Not everything's black and white. So the whole story is based on shame. Sarah Yehudit defines shame as the discomfort produced when the ego feels diminished or deflated. Briefly, there are 3 types of experiences that produce shame. Failure. I did something wrong, bad, stupid, ugh, I'm a loser, I'm a nobody. Defect. I am flawed, perhaps visibly, perhaps secretly, which makes me undesirable. I'm damaged goods. It feels to be a permanent, inescapable, and humiliating condition. 3, someone else insults, belittles, rejects, ridicules, degrades me, or renders me powerless. How dare they minify me? I am not a nobody. I'm a somebody, and I will prove it by making their life miserable for messing with me, even if I destroy my own life in the process. So usually, again, most of this, it isn't a conscious conversation that I'm having. In the unconscious, that's running through, and it's powering a way that I might lash out at that person or start blaming or criticizing, coming back. So Sarah Yehudit brings this way of bringing shame to Teshuva, working with unacknowledged shame. The Tikkun Zohar notes that the equivalence of the Hebrew word for shame, boshet, and tshuva, teshuv, they're the same letters, just rearranged. Bet, shin, vav, tav, versus tav, shin, vav, bet. The first step, which is actually a very potent one, is simply to acknowledge the shame mechanism and to set about discovering the shame behind the hate. So this is one of the reasons we use meditation, mindfulness. The moment that I can recognize, oh, I'm starting to criticize, I'm starting to blame, something got or or even my shoulders are tight. I might feel it in my body. There's constriction here. If I can notice that something's being touched, that's the first. Acknowledge something's been touched in me. Identify, if possible, what sort of shame we're dealing with. So if it's the failure, defect, or having been insulted or belittled. And depending upon what type of shame we are dealing with, so that will determine how to diffuse it, or at the very least, how to disrupt the chain of cause and effect that leads to sinat chinam. So this I had put earlier, there's these two ways of serving Hashem. One is up and one is in. And I would say Sarah Yehudit's, we all need a balance, and we all have kind of, where we're more driven. So the up way, it's kind of towards the Orein Sof. It's through prayer, through reaching out, through Torah study and prayer, and even mitzvot. It's going out to. So Sarah Yehudit's going to bring a path to meeting shame. Is going to bring prayer to meet it. And my kind of eye center, or my way, is more of an in way of listening in, kind of that first step is how do I notice that the shame is here? And then we're going to go into a Chash. Bluma Sheindl is going to lead us on a Chash meditation. And for those of you who don't know what Chash is, I'm going to explain in a moment. And I'm going over my time, so I'm gonna go along. So we're gonna have this prayer model of how to deal with shame, and then we're gonna have kind of the somatic therapeutic inner work model of being with the shame, making space for it, for all the parts of ourselves, for the parts that we usually keep in the dark, how to make space and bring light to them and healing. Identifying shame and turning it into prayer. Shame of failure, which generally hides behind embarrassment, blame, or wanting to disappear. So in this one, there's the way that she's bringing it, this is one that we actually did something bad, and we can do tshuva on it. Hashem, we have to believe that that tshuva is real, and that the Rambam brings down the different steps of tshuva. I'm not going to go into it here. We regret, we have remorse, we ask forgiveness. It's real. So this one, and you know what? I'm gonna make you do your homework, because we have the guided meditation and the movement, and I apologize because I didn't leave enough space for you to look up the prayers. I'll give you just a taste so that you whet your appetite. Okay, so I'm going to read it. I'm not afraid of truth. Whatever responsibility is mine in this conflict, please help me see it, admit it, and do tshuva around it. Let me walk my talk, help me to bring my behavior into line with my persona, and grant me the humility to admit the gaps when I am falling short. So that's the prayer intention that Sarah Yehudit uses to meet this place of shame of when I've done something wrong. Let me take responsibility, whatever responsibility is mine. Now, I'm not going to go into it, but I am just going to name that in trauma, children in trauma don't know the difference between doing something wrong and being wrong. And they also don't know the difference if someone else is doing something wrong or something else bad is happening. Parents get divorced, neglect, abuse. They might take it on themselves as I'm bad. That's in trauma, that often sexual abuse, that's often what a deep unconscious belief that I must be bad for that to have happened. And so I want to name that this, and that's not it's a different way of meeting. There's a different way of meeting that. And please God, we're going to have many more classes, and we'll get to these other pieces. Shame of defect, which often lurks behind the hatred caused by envy or disgust. Tshuva here means that we can and must connect our defects back to Hashem's goodness through faith truth. But it's important that we really know that the affirmation is true. So that this is I have everything I need. I don't need anything to be different. My health, it's exactly what I need to fulfill my spiritual purpose. And again, the Torah teaching will put the link, and you can see the prayers to me. Shame of insult, which is often behind the hatred caused by rage and vengeance. I accept the humbling of this event, but I cannot accept the injustice of it. I follow the Baal Shem Tov's advice to pray for my enemy to do tshuva in the same way that I pray for my own tshuva. This is the path to a win-win-win situation. For if my enemy does Teshuva, she will make amends and justice will be done. So she has a, okay, I'm not gonna read that one. So also let there be love and light come into this person and let it come into the parts of me. There's a beautiful prayer of how to meet as this part's being touched, pause, notice it, and bring this prayer. Let there be love and light in this situation, in this person. I'm going to go. It's not that I'm just going to let it slide. If someone, owes me recompense, if they need to be, if they're dangerous, I'm gonna follow a path of justice. And I'm going to address the part in me that's being touched. I'm going to invite love, light, and love there. And again, in the Chash meditation, we'll see how to bring another way of bringing. So this I'm just going to make one word. Okay, I'm going to stop the share. And I apologize. I feel like I'm speeding along. I just want to have space for the experiential pieces. So Chashmal, for those of you that aren't familiar, it's part of the Purim High Council. It comes from Yechezkel. We read about it in Yechezkel. In modern Hebrew, it means electricity. In this way, it's a paradoxical prayer stance. Two subwords, Chash being from Chashai, silence, and Mal being Milel, to speak. And so it's these two ways of prayer. One, silence, receiving radical acceptance. I have everything I need right now. I know, Hashem, you've given this to me. I have everything I need to make my soul's path in this world to achieve what it needs to achieve. And again, knowing in every cell of, it's not just here and saying it, it's a way of knowing in every cell, Hashem's holding me here. And we're going to bring the stretching piece. And I hope you'll join me if you can. Because our bodies and our souls, they're a zivug. And we know when we're constricted, our shoulders hurt. When things are happening also emotionally, where our shoulders are tight, there's a way that if we experience this way of receiving, of letting go, of leaning into whatever the struggle is that I'm praying about, the lack, and Bluma Sheindl is going to go into this. So I'm not going to say much more. Just to say that the Mal piece, which we're going to get to at the end, is a direction-oriented prayer. That's where we speak out and we say, it's not okay, it is broken and it hurts. And it seems to me like really it should be, this person should be healed and this shidduch should happen. And so that it's this back and forth between making space for the brokenness, stretching into it, we talked last month's class on Tammuz of how the darkness, it's actually by making space with compassionate presence for the pain. There's a way that the light, it transforms, that we have a more intimate relationship with Hashem, and the healing happens. So I'm going to introduce Bluma Sheindl because she's going to take over. I'm going to lead a stretching piece, and then she's going to take over. She is my soul sister, Chavruta. We live in the Golan, in the same community, in the Golan together. And it's funny because I'm going to read from her bio, even though I know her kind of left and right and all the parts, many, many beautiful parts of her. So Bluma Sheindl is a mother of four, a relational somatic psychotherapist who lives in Moshav Keshet in the Golan Heights. In her psychotherapy practice, she strives to help women experience the bliss of healing and transformation that integrates down into our bones the faith that everything is for the best, and reduces the static in our systems so we can begin to listen deeply to what wants to happen and collaborate freely and creatively in the process of our own unfolding. Okay, so I want to invite everyone to, if you have a space on the floor or if you're in your bedroom and it's on the bed, If you want to stay sitting in a chair, that's okay. You know, whatever you need for this piece. And you can use your breath to kind of just breathe into and let go if you're staying in a chair. And just a moment as I reorganize. Welcome to my living room, my salon. And everybody take care of yourselves. If anything, there's a difference between a little, stretching into the discomfort and it really being, a pain that's not good. So really listen to your body and adjust accordingly. Oh, and I'm gonna put on a microphone.
Malka Sima, I can't hear you. I'm not sure if you've started talking yet or not.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Here I go. I figured it out. Now you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
now we can hear.
Okay, good. I figured it out. Okay, so come down on your mat or a blanket on the floor, a rug, your bed, whatever it is. If you can, be on your knees. If you need to lean forward, put pillows underneath, adjust in whatever way. And we're going to start just start kind of folding over at the hip joints. We're going to melt into the hip joints. So just coming forward gently. And you just find the right bit, the right place for you. And breathing here. And really take your time, let your back adjust to being folded over. You can stretch one arm forward and the other hand kind of crawls forward. And breathing. And you can kind of imagine melting in the hip sockets. And I'm going to invite you to bring your right foot forward. It's folded under. Your hands are on either side of the front leg. The back leg is straight out. I notice a stretch in that left hip. Just breathe into any places of discomfort. Breathe into it. Here at the spine, you're pulling back a little, like the shoulders open up a little bit. The keter, the crown of the head, is facing up. The tailbone tucks in. The hands kind of push down. If you want, you can tuck that back foot under or leave your on the top of the foot. And we're gonna kind of come over onto the right hip and bring that right leg to a 90-degree or less, wherever it goes, angle, and fold over so the belly goes on the thigh. And again, this could be as far as you go. This could be enough. And just each person find your way down to whatever feels right for you. And breathing here.
This is opening up the psoas, which connects the to the lower back. So as you breathe, you could imagine that your lower back, like almost a ball that expands your belly and also your lower back. And as you exhale, just imagine that your lower back is coming closer to your thigh and then melting into the thigh. You might notice other parts of tension, other places of tension, the jaw. Just with the exhale, you can imagine melting, like an ice cube melting the tension away. And you might notice if with the exhale, the back, the upper body comes a little closer to the leg, maybe the head comes a little closer to the ground. As you yield into the support of the earth, the support of whatever you're sitting on, there is a way that you're held there. And coming back up. And you can stay in your same position. I just want you to be able to see, bend that back leg and just rock, kind of tilt, like you're tilting if there was a bowl in your pelvis. Tilt that, kind of tilting your butt forward and letting it come back to sitting. It's like a rocking. Or opening the hip joint here. As you you can make it like a flowing, a little, let it be flowing, kind of feel there's a little bit of a sensual feeling to this movement. I have a flowing energy. And now coming back, the right leg is forward, but straightening the left leg back again. Pushing up and through. Bringing the right leg back and coming back down, folding in. This is kind of a position of retreat. So just really appreciate coming inside. There's times that we just want to curl up in bed, especially if we have discomfort or pain, whether it's emotional or physical, and let that be okay. That's a part of kind of nature. This need to kind of come inside, have a quiet time, more internal. And again, stretching the hand, you can stretch, kind of walk the fingers a little farther. The tailbone stretches in the other position, the other direction. And coming up, we're going to bring the left leg forward. Bent in the same way. The hands are on the side. Bringing the spine comes back. The keter of the head reaches the crown of the head, reaching up. The tailbone reaching down. The hands pushing down. And again, any discomfort, any tension, let's breathe as if the breath could direct into that place. You're breathing into that place, and with the exhale, letting it soften. And kind of notice what happens as you shift your awareness to a place of discomfort. You breathe with it. And again, if it feels unbearable, so adjust. We're not glorifying suffering here. Come over onto the left thigh, bringing that the leg more to a 90-degree angle. And we're gonna bend over here. So it's not about being a glorifying suffering, God forbid. You touch in on the edge of what you feel resourced, have enough resiliency to be there. And this is where support, therapeutic support, friends, family, they can help us and kind of stay resourced even within. We can kind of widen our ability to stay present in whatever's here. And again, with the exhale, kind of letting your belly melt into the thigh, the lower back melts into the thigh. And coming up, bending that back leg, called a 4, the leg in a 4 position. And the left hand is behind the left leg here. And just tilting the hip forward, the pelvis, as if the pelvis is a bowl. I tilt it forward and I come back to sitting. And let your upper body just kind of naturally follow. The hip and the spine. The sacrum connects to the pelvis. And so as I tilt my pelvis, just kind of noticing how my torso moves with it. Breathing into the belly. Belly has lots of space to breathe here. And coming back, straightening the back leg, the right leg again, the left leg. And just reaching up with the crown of the head. Let's see if there's a way you can do this with ease. Or even any part of you could maybe have a little more ease, whether it's your jaw, maybe it's your toe, just any part that might be able to really relax into this. And coming back, both of the legs together. And we're going to transition here. Just kind of feel yourself again in a more neutral position. And I'm going to hand it over to Bluma Sheindl. She's going to lead us in a call a Chash meditation. And I bless you to be open to receive what you can from it. And if you want to lay down on the mat, that feels right, with just keeping in mind to stay present, that there's a way of being relaxed and yet alert, so that you don't miss out, you don't fall asleep and miss out, or you can sit, whatever feels right to you. So Bluma Sheindl, I'll let you take it from here.
Okay, thank you. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. That's a poem from Rumi. In keeping with our calling to attend to and make conscious the shame at the root of Sinat Chinam, for the sake of clearing the way for the Beit HaMikdash and for Mashiach, we'll now take 15 minutes to safely and slowly find our way into the dark shame of our own psyches. Each of us individually and all of us together. We will then spend some time journaling to compose a prayer fit to draw down the particular lights we need to fill or heal our particular lack. In that way, we will move back into the light. Keep in mind that there is no right or wrong with what we're about to do. I'll offer suggestions as we go along, but don't take them too literally or get too stuck on any one thing. If you lose your focus, just gently bring yourself back. Allow yourself to be curious and see what unfolds. Trust your own process and participate only how and if it feels right for you. So start by slowing down to feel your body. Notice your back and your tush supported by the chair or the mat, and feel the ground beneath your feet. Be with whatever sensations you notice, like tension, energy, pain, or flow. Notice your breath as it's moving in and out, without needing to change it. Still slowing. Notice the quality of your emotional state right now. Maybe you're tired or grumpy, or curious, or nervous. Let yourself just be with whatever you're noticing in a compassionate way, without needing it to be different. Now, bring your awareness to the group of women here right now. We're here together, each of us with her own gifts and challenges, each of us with her own point of brokenness and tikkun, each of us an earnest seeker of truth in her own way. Feel yourself a part of this circle of sisters. You are not alone. Let this circle support you and give you strength. You may want to invite the support of a beloved aunt or grandmother or other ally to be with you during this process as well. Allow your body to shift and settle into that support. Now, take a moment to find in yourself several good points, your finer qualities, your good deeds, how you have grown. Just land for several moments here, your goodness front and center. Now, we'll gently shift toward inviting less desirable parts of us to come into awareness. We all have parts that carry shame, jealousy, low self-worth, shame, unworthiness. Parts of me that I've banished to the nether regions of my unconscious and prefer to keep there. Each of these is like an X marks the spot on a treasure map from God. Shame is our portal back to Gan Eden. How do I even begin to make space for, get curious about, and bring compassion to that which is not wanted, or what I've learned to defend against in order to survive? How do I even begin to embody a posture of faith in a loving God who is perfectly designing the circumstances of my life in each moment? Chash is the practice of radical acceptance based on the faith truth. Hashem, I know and trust that whatever you bring into my life is, without a doubt, the gentlest way that can possibly be designed to bring about my personal and spiritual tikkun, and that I have all I need to take my next step. Chash is a moment by moment meditative practice of noticing, accepting, and softening into whatever comes. Each part of me that shows up along the way, each subtle resistance that blocks my way to acceptance of what God is giving me in this moment, instead of banishing it, I notice it, know it's here for a reason, and accept it. Oh, here's my inner critic, or a part of me that wants to run, or a part that feels cynical or hopeless, or abandoned, or no longer wants to be here. Oh, here's my insecurity, my anger, my shallow breath, the pain in my body. I see you. Let me be with you here. You are here for a reason. You carry pain and constriction. You too are from Hashem. I open to and accept all of my parts in this perfectly designed moment. In this way, we move our consciousness deeper toward the core where the gift of new light is waiting. With all this, invite your unconscious, and if you agree, invite your unconscious to send you up a situation from today or yesterday or the near past that triggered feelings of not good enough or failure or feeling like there's something wrong with you, or in which someone insulted or dishonored you and you wanted to lash out or shame yourself. Trust whatever comes and go with it. Allow yourself to remember, hear, see, and feel the experience of the shame as it lives in you. Let your body really take on the posture and energy of this feeling. Anytime you notice resistance, self-judgment, a need to rationalize, an urge to disappear, a desire to get rid of some part of you, notice that part. Be with it and say, these are my parts right now. This is who Hashem designed me to be in this very moment. This moment was designed for my growth, and I accept it. I am but a symptom bearer of the Shekhinah. And instead of pushing it away, make space and accept it as a part and parcel of the whole Gestalt experience of shame and the way it lives in you. Continue to study this experience of shame that was triggered by this thing that happened recently. What happens in your body? Do you shut down or stop breathing or want to disappear? Or do you panic and start to mobilize and feel the need to run? Maybe you feel the impulse to lash out. What kinds of thoughts are running in the background? Are they directed at you or someone else? What do you believe about yourself inside this feeling? What do you believe about the world from inside this feeling? Notice how this is protecting you from something. From what is it protecting you? Bring appreciation for the protection this has offered you, even though you may disagree with the methodology. We are here to learn and even befriend this darkness, and we will soon pray our way to the light. For now, stay and deepen even more into the whole Gestalt experience of this shame. If you're willing. Let your body stay in the posture of this shame. Feel the shutdown or the mobilization. Believe the beliefs. Feel the feelings. Now, tune into what this whole body-mind experience is blocking. If it wasn't here, what would become possible? What would you be free to want or do? If the shame wasn't here, who would you be free to be? Stay right here and feel the gap that lies between who you are inside the shame and the potential truer you calling from the other side. See it and know it. Feel the pain of this gap between who you have been and who you could be. Mourn it. Mourn the fragmentation. Mourn the lost time. Mourn the disappointment. Mourn the fallout. Mourn the suffering. Radically accept yourself exactly as you are in this moment, knowing that this gap has been designed by Hashem for you with love. Receive it. This is your portal. Hineni. Let the pain transmute into longing as you actively begin to long for what you really, really, really want. For your sake, for Hashem's sake, and for the sake of all beings who share the same gap and point of lack as you. Shift your posture into a posture of longing and place a hand on your heart. When you're ready, take up pen and paper and craft your prayer according to the insights you have received. We'll have about 5 minutes. Okay, so finish up your prayer. And if it's not finished, then commit to finish it soon.
Okay. So just if anyone wants to share in the chat something that was meaningful. I had a thought, the title of this class was From Shame to Teshuva. So if you want to write from, mine was from not enough to accepting who I am. Kind of what the two sides of your, if you feel comfortable, if you want to share in the chat, kind of in a word or two, what the piece of shame was and what the ratzon, the prayer, the healing vision is. And the beautiful piece of this is that you're not the only one. I'm sure there'll be other women on the call, on who are watching later that can relate. So if it feels safe, if you feel comfortable, slow, deep progress. Thank you. And if anyone else wants to add their voice or unmute yourself. I am searching for my inner truth. I need to stop looking and trust that it will find me. From resistance and shutdown to openness, vulnerability, joy. Wow. From not knowing to not needing to know. I am not sick, crazy, or delusional about this real healing that is happening. And may I receive, hold on, the foundation of Hashem's love to help me. Wow. Toby, did you want to read yours out loud? Yeah, sure.
Hi.
Thanks,
Hi.
Toby.
Do you mind if I stay off camera or?
It's okay, whatever feels right for you.
Okay. Hashem, the shame is great. The causes for shame are great. The pain is so vast and deep. I feel irredeemable because of the damage. But you have given me this immense gap between the pain and the shame and the person I could be, the person you would be happy for me to be. So help me find my dignity, something I grew up without, for my family, for myself, for you, for Klal Yisrael, for the world. Without dignity, there is no prayer, no service, no tikkun olam, no miraculous saving of my child. Let there be dignity and hope and connection. Let there be light and life. Let there be wonderful times ahead, Bezrat Hashem. Kini Hiratza.
Amen. Amen. Wow, Toby.
Amen. So beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was very
Sharing.
vulnerable. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm going to breathe that in. Mm. Would anyone else like to share, whether it's by chat or with your voice? Okay. So I want to first just thank Bluma Sheindl. You rocked it. Thank you so much. That was a beautiful, it's really deep. There's so many pieces to unravel within that. Really beautifully laid out and given over, and thank you for that journey.
Yeah, it was because I had to travel such a shame journey just to even write the meditation that it showed me the way. So
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, you could feel it's coming from a place of knowing. It's not just words. And I really want to bless us, on Tisha B'Av. There's the first part of the day. It's different than most fast days, that we don't pray for Teshuva, to be forgiven. It's just a place of mourning. And being, Sarah Yehudit says, it's a meditation on pain and brokenness. And in a meditation, we choose a point of focus and return to that place. Our thoughts wander or whatever it is, and we come back. So on Tisha B'Av, we're coming back to the pain and brokenness. That's our focus. And she says the humbling of the ego, of not being in control, not being able to change that, not being the not knowing, the way the ego needs to know, and the not knowing if and how and when. That humbling of the ego is what makes space for Mashiach. So before Chatzot and Tisha B'Av, that's our work. We just stay. It's not about prayer. We have the keynote. It's staying in the brokenness, and then as we move out of after Chatzot, there's this it opens up, and we're coming into Tu B'Av, which is the Talmud says one of the most joyous days of the year. So just kind of feeling that energy. We're still in the 9 days. Tisha B'Av's coming, and so kind of stretching and literally stretching your bodies, making space. Please God, this recording will be out. You can revisit Bluma Sheindl's meditation. Just a way of making space. The Tammuz, it's bookmarked. Anne led a meditation similar that makes space for the pain. Really using this time. This is the time to stretch our vessels. And like Bluma Sheindl said, and as I said, there's much more to unravel there, but somehow this is the portal to Gan Eden. There's something, the X marks the spot on the treasure map, that these places, the more that we can make space for them, and Hashem is pointing us towards our healing. It's pointing us, something's here. This isn't stem that you feel this. So I'm giving this to you to pray for it, to work to fix it, to do the work. Because this is the light needs to be revealed, and I believe in you.
And to get the support.
To get the support.
And healing that it takes.
Right.
That it takes to meet these places inside of us.
Yeah. I know in myself, it's even in this meditation, how hard it is to stay with the pain. And again, from the beginning, my virtual reality, there's a way when we have someone with us, when we don't feel alone, when we have the support, we can feel held in it. We can move through it. It moves through us. We can let it go. We can be brave enough to make the leap. So I don't know what the blessing is for going into continuing the 9 days and the or the salutation rather. But again, just that we should have space, the support that we need, and the space, and the kind of trust that Hashem is with us in the pain. Sarah Yehudit says it's like making a Shiva call to Hashem. Hashem is suffering with us. And please God, we should merit to see Mashiach. This should be the year. Say Mashiach's born on Tisha B'Av. So, making space for the other in these few days that are, please God, we can, we'll be dancing together at the Beit HaMikdash. Someone asked to post the copy of the prayer. I can, just a moment. I'm gonna cut and paste the. Oh, did that show up as a link? Otherwise, you can go to Sarah Yehudit's astillsmallvoice.org. And you go into the writings, her holiday writings. You follow writings, and then Tisha B'Av. It's in her holiday writings, and it's the shame behind causeless hatred. And she has also a video teaching about this, but the prayers are written there. And they're powerful. I just find that whereas I could go down the rabbit hole of beating myself up and feeling so terrible, and then I turn it into a prayer and I realize, oh, actually, I want to come closer. I want to heal this relationship. I want to, what Bluma Sheindl was alluding to, the way where the light is within it. And the prayer helps to really access what that light, what it is that I'm, where I'm going towards, and to focus on that, to stay in that kind of consciousness. Okay. So thank you everyone for coming together to kind of grow and heal in this way as we're on this journey together. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone's presence here. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeshua to all of you. It was really tremendous. Thank you.
Baruch Hashem. Thank you all.
Definitely healing. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Take care, everyone. We'll see you. Please, God, we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.